This video is sponsored by Final Fate. Kenpachi Zaraki is the instinctive monster who appears to want nothing more than to rip apart his opponents, as he enjoys the thrill of battle over anything else. It is not an exaggeration to suggest that Kenpachi lives to battle strong opponents. He takes pleasure in being wounded by a worthy adversary, and finds it incredibly enjoyable to inflict pain onto others. Some would say that he isn't the deepest character to feature within Bleach, and he doesn't really have much growth throughout the series. I believe some of these criticisms are true, but in this video I want to convey what makes Kenpachi so appealing as a character, as his fanbase of loyal supporters have continuously pestered me to analyze his character. Well, here is my in-depth look into Kenpachi Zaraki, so be sure to watch until the very end in order to understand what makes him one of the strongest characters in Bleach. Before getting into the analysis, we have a quick message from the sponsor of this video. Final Fate is a brand new original take on tower defense games. This game is set in an original anime world, which is full of waifus for you to collect and recruit to battle alongside with you. Start to explore the world of Final Fate by downloading the game using my link in the description down below. Final Fate is set in an immersive world filled with lots of fantasy and adventures. The unique world that the game tells its story through is called Luna. It is your duty to protect the world as the savior and to unlock the many mysteries hidden within the game. You explore a world filled with different species like humans, deities, fiends, and demons. You are tasked with defending the world against the demonic forces threatening it. Final Fate is a totally new style of game, which features elements of tower defense and card mechanics that are presented with a very appealing anime style. This game is the perfect blend of tower defense mixed with hack and slash gameplay. You can become a master of the battlefield by combining a wide range of skills and using combos to slow down enemies and defeat them. You can collect multiple different legendary heroes in-game and form relationships with the different heroes on your team. You can deepen your bond with your favorite characters through interacting with them and giving them gifts. Awakening your heroes allows you to make them more powerful, so that they can help you in various different game modes like Hero Brawl, Mythic Hall, Ancient Realm, and Realm War. There are a countless number of waifus for you to collect through daily giveaways of card draw tickets. You can use these to summon the heroes that you desire. The card draw system guarantees that everyone is a winner through the daily giveaways. You can also strategize and build your characters so that an SR hero is as strong as an SSR hero. The gameplay of Final Fate never gets boring, as you have over 100 different tactical maps which range from ice terrains to forests, and even lava-filled environments. Through combining different skills and character classes, you can strategize your style of gameplay, as you unlock different combat effects that will have you replaying Final Fate until you have created your ultimate team of heroes. Now let me show you my experience playing the game. You begin with a tutorial which basically teaches you all of the basic elements of the game, including how to battle enemies, use skills in battle, recruit heroes to help you in battle, and lastly, how to defeat a boss, which is incredibly fun. We then learn how to recruit more heroes, and I've unlocked Tara as my first hero. We can now deploy her so that she can join me in battle. You can see there are also rewards you can claim for unlocking certain tasks. The tutorial continues by showing us through the various different game modes, as next we are doing a quest using Tara for the first time. You can see the tower defense gameplay, which has a lot of fun hack and slash gameplay within it, as you use various different skills to eliminate the enemies. The card-based system within the game allows you to enhance your favorite heroes and weigh up who has the best stats to join you in battle. The tutorial then wraps up by taking us through the Ancient Realm game mode, where we can challenge a hero to earn experience points to upgrade our heroes. After you defeat the hero, you have completed the main tutorial, and you are ready to play the game. With incredibly engaging gameplay and stylish anime designs, Final Fate has plenty of reasons for you to come back daily, including the daily rewards that you receive for logging in every day. So support my channel by joining me on Final Fate through the link in the description down below. Kenpachi first appears in chapter 65 of the manga and in episode 20 of the anime. It is difficult to miss Kenpachi, as he has a very unique character design, which I feel makes him very memorable, and a little bit more distinctive than the other captains. Yes, Mayuri may have makeup all over his face, but he doesn't have wild spiky hair that has bells attached to the ends of each spike. The tall and muscular captain of the 11th Division has a scar which runs down the left side of his face, and he dons a black eye patch over his right eye, which serves to seal his true power. power. Kenpachi loves fighting to the extent that he purposefully wears accessories which help him to experience a satisfactory battle. What fun would it be if Kenpachi were to battle an opponent and the fight would end within mere seconds? To avoid this, his eye patch seals the bulk of his power, and the bells on the tips of his spikes are purposefully there to give his opponents the advantage. We learn in chapter 109 when he battles Ichigo, the sound of the bells can only be heard by opponents who are concentrating their Ryatsu while battling him. Kenpachi describes these self-imposed handicaps as elements which make a fight more interesting. He can quickly gauge if an opponent is worthy or not by examining how well they exploit the bell and the eye patch against him. His desire to enjoy a good fight leads to him disregarding any injuries that he receives. He even feels enjoyment out of getting hurt. His masochistic nature terrifies his opponents, who realize that their attacks are only exciting Kenpachi and motivating him to counterattack. He is chaotic and frightening, appearing unmerciful, but he has no interest in killing an opponent who is too weak to continue fighting. We see this in chapter 312 when he battles Nnoitra, who is severely wounded and unfit to battle. Kenpachi is uninterested in continuing their fight and bids him farewell, but Nnoitra insists that they continue. Kenpachi loses interest because he is not under any obligation to kill him. Their battle ended after his last devastating attack. When the enjoyment derived from battle is lost, this is the cue for Kenpachi to leave. Even during his battle with Tozen in chapter 148, he leaves Tozen severely wounded, but Tozen still desires to fight to his dying breath. Kenpachi does not entertain his sacrificial attitude, because he has no desire to battle a weakling who is already half dead. His reasoning is that there is no fun in dying. He cannot be cut by a dead opponent. From these interactions, it's like Kenpachi prefers to spare his opponents in the hopes that they train and grow stronger, hoping for them to challenge him once more. He must want them to be fueled by the resentment that they feel towards him after they are embarrassingly schooled by him. Kenpachi desires to fight incredibly strong opponents, and in order to enjoy the thrill of battle, he prolongs these fights by concealing his full power. His battle with Ichigo was a perfect display of his character traits, as well as highlighting some of the areas for growth that we see Kenpachi go through till the end of the series. His character was heavily focused upon during the 1000-Year Blood War arc, where we learn about his past and his connection to Captain Unohana. She is the first person to hold the title of Kenpachi. This title is given to the strongest shinigami of that generation. It is reserved for the one who has killed the most enemies and won the most battles. Let's now look at the past of Kenpachi so that we can understand his nameless origin as a young boy wandering Rukongai. How does he end up becoming a captain and holding the title of the strongest shinigami? Kenpachi's past begins to be told to us in chapter 525 during his training with Unohana. When she first meets Kenpachi as a young boy in the outskirts of Rukongai, she notices him standing on top of a pile of corpses. In chapter 529, we learn that Kenpachi acquired a blank zanpakuto from a dead shinigami he came across. He shaped this zanpakuto into his own. He was not given a name, so he took upon the surname Zaraki, which was the name of the district that he was raised in. Zaraki is known as the most lawless region within Rukongai, and it is populated by criminals. When Unohana remembers the first time she met Kenpachi, she recalls that they were both bored with fighting, which led to them both wandering in search for a worthy adversary. While she was the captain of the 11th Division, she was led to the young Kenpachi. Their blades crossing was the first time in a long while she had felt the thrill of battle. This too was a defining moment for Kenpachi's character. It led to him imposing restrictions onto his own power. During that battle, they both felt excitement. Unohana was the first opponent in Kenpachi's life who rivaled his own strength. This was the first time that he was battling someone he did not look down upon. She was able to truly test his skills, but at that time when she battled the young Kenpachi, she was weaker than him. We learned that he felt hesitation during his encounter with Unohana. She was the only person worthy of being his enemy, but he came to think if he killed her, then he would never be able to enjoy a battle like this ever again. At this early point in his life, he began to unconsciously suppress and seal away his powers. He initially did this to match his powers to Unohana during their first battle. She ends up feeling responsible, as it was her weakness which led to Kenpachi sealing away his powers. This battle was the first time that Kenpachi felt fear in his life, as well as true enjoyment. To prolong this feeling, he sealed his powers away, which led to his defeat. After their fight, he began to admire Unohana and wanted to fight like her. I will come back to their relationship and look further into their rematch while discussing Kenpachi's growth during the 1000-Year Blood War arc later on in this video. Continuing on with another fundamental moment from Kenpachi's past, we learn how he met his Lieutenant Yachiru and the origin of his name in chapter 114. He meets her while he is under the shade of a tree covered in blood, surrounded by the corpses of his enemies. Her lack of fear towards Kenpachi's weapon, as well as neither of them having a name, results in him taking her under his wing. When he reflects upon his battle with Ichigo, he is reminded of the pain that he felt when he wandered aimlessly without a name. He had no identity of his own. He gave Yachiru her name when he decided to name her her after Yachiru Unohana, the only person that he ever admired. This is an aspect of his character revealed to us in chapter 114, but this is explained in chapter 525. This is a subtle detail about him that foreshadows the unique bond that he shares with Unohana. At the same time, he also decides to name himself Kenpachi, which as we know is the title that is given to the strongest shinigami of that generation. In chapter 206, we see another moment for Kenpachi's past, but from the perspective of his subordinate Ikaku Madarame. After he is beaten by Kenpachi, he demands that he stops walking away and returns to finish him off. Like I mentioned earlier, Kenpachi quickly loses interest in his opponents who lose their strength. He is under no obligation to end his enemy's suffering. Ikaku persists that he must be killed after losing. He is in no position to be making demands since he is bloodied and beaten, but he is trying to honor the outcome of the battle by forsaking his own life over this encounter. Kenpachi tells him if he loves fighting so much, then he should stop begging to be killed. He should only admit defeat after he has died. For now, he advises Ikaku to consider himself lucky to be alive. He should devote his life to killing the one who let him live. Kenpachi earns his respect when he tells him to live and to kill him another day. After this battle, we learn through the second Bleach character data book, Kenpachi killed the captain of the 11th Division, taking his position and officially acquiring the title of Kenpachi. He is the 11th person to acquire this title. In chapter 520, we are told that Kenpachi began to train with head captain Yamamoto in order to learn proper sword technique, since he was able to shortcut his way into the Gotai 13. After only one day of training, the head captain was forced to stop training him, as the Central 46 became concerned that he would soon realize his full potential and would become a threat to the Soul Society if he decided to rebel against them. During his battle with Nnoitra, Kenpachi does admit that he hates using the kendo techniques that he learnt, as his battles would end far too quickly for his liking. He only resorts to using his kendo when his life is on the line. His refusal to adopt new learning methods and utilizing effective strategies in battle adds to this notion that he was limiting himself, and was in this instance intentionally holding himself back. Despite being called Kenpachi, he was not living up to his full potential, as well as the title of the strongest that he had been assigned. He did not truly become the strongest shinigami worthy of that title until his rematch with Unohana in the final arc. The newly appointed captain of Squad 11 eventually becomes the strongest Kenpachi in history. He does so despite having a nameless Zanpakuto and overcoming his limitations. He was able to command the respect of his subordinates, even Ikaku, who despite having attained Bankai refuses to accept a promotion to a captain rank, just so that he may serve under and die for the man who earned his respect. Now that we know the origin of his character, let's now see where Kenpachi's bloodlust leads him, as we will now analyze his early appearances within the Bleach manga, paying particular attention to his growth and development after each encounter. How every battle that we see leading up to his rematch with Unohana served to unlock some of his power, enabling him to leave a battle stronger than when he entered it. Let's now analyze how Kenpachi restored his full potential and removed his subconscious limitations, returning to how he was when he first battled Unohana as a young boy. Kenpachi battles Ichigo after he searches for the strongest amongst the invaders. In chapter 103, he makes himself known by releasing his incredible Reiatsu, which also helps him to identify Ichigo, who appears to be withstanding his spiritual pressure better than Ganju and Hanataro. During this terrifying first impression, Ichigo comes face to face with the personification of battle. His aura of murderous intent results in him experiencing a sensation of being stabbed before Kenpachi even draws his Zanpakuto. His desire to battle the strongest invader, coupled with his expectations of Ichigo to provide a thrilling battle, leads to Kenpachi becoming incredibly excited. From the onset of battle, he makes his intentions known. He is here to either kill Ichigo or die trying to. He is confident that Ichigo does not stand a chance. He offers him to attack first, but Ichigo refuses to attack Kenpachi while he is unarmed. Just to remind you, this is the first time that we see Kenpachi in battle. We quickly understand that he selfishly wants to enjoy a long drawn out battle with a worthy adversary. He feels as though Ichigo is not taking advantage of his generous offer to attack first. He doesn't realize that he is playing by Kenpachi's rules, which are kill or be killed. Ichigo is unable to cut Kenpachi because his spiritual pressure while he is attacking is weaker than Kenpachi's unconscious release of spiritual pressure while he is standing around doing nothing. The first half of their battle, Ichigo is running away and frankly overwhelmed by Kenpachi's brute force and desire for battle. At the end of chapter 108, Ichigo finally manages to cut Kenpachi after remembering his resolve. This affirms Kenpachi's suspicions that he would indeed enjoy his battle with the young intruder. Despite being cut across his chest, he is smiling and even giving advice to Ichigo, reminding him to stay alert and to not relax just yet. He reassures Ichigo right before he counterattacks for the first time. I have always loved how Kubo can show us everything that we need to know about a character through the way he depicts them while in battle. Kenpachi in chapter 109 grabs grabs Ichigo's Zanpakuto with his bare hand so that he may pull Ichigo towards him in order to pierce him with his own Zanpakuto. We quickly learn that he has no fear in battle. It is like every injury he receives increases his strength. Kenpachi grabbing Ichigo's Zanpakuto without any second thoughts is enough to demonstrate how crazy he is. The lengths that he will go to in order to satisfy his thirst for battle is fascinating, as he reassures Ichigo to continue to defend, concentrate and attack. The first half of their battle ends with Kenpachi revealing that he does not know the name of his Zanpakuto. Because of this, his sword is always in a released state. His power was never sealed, so it does not need to release through shikai or bankai. Just like Kenpachi himself, his blade is the literal manifestation of raw power. Eventually, Ichigo relaxes and forgets to stay focused, and keep his spiritual pressure elevated to prevent Kenpachi's blade from piercing him. There is understandable disappointment from Kenpachi, as there was a lot of promise to Ichigo. He was able to cut Kenpachi, he was focused enough to hear his bells. An opponent with this level of promise clearly did not come by often. The second half of their battle begins once Ichigo learns to understand and call upon his Zanpakuto by its name. In chapter 112, the tide of battle turns as Ichigo truly lives up to Kenpachi's expectations. He manages to cut Kenpachi a further 2 more times, and in doing so overpowers him, which excites and pleases the sadistic captain. Ichigo desires to end the battle quickly so that he may save Rukia, but Kenpachi desires to prolong their encounter. His character is written during this battle to really give off this sense that he has been deprived from the thrill of battle for so long. You can understand why Kenpachi is behaving the way that he is. He simply wants to feel enjoyment through battling someone who has the potential to kill him. I personally love how Kenpachi seems to be fueled by injury. It confuses Ichigo, who must be wondering how he can inflict so much damage to him but he still won't back down. He calls him crazy, asking if he enjoys battling more than being afraid of getting cut or even killed. Kenpachi simply tells him that he is crazy, as he wonders how Ichigo cannot love fighting to the extent that he does, despite him being so strong. Pain and death are the rewards of battle according to Kenpachi. This explains why he is not afraid of being killed and he enjoys feeling pain through battle. Both Ichigo and Kenpachi during their battle were evenly matched. This leads to Kenpachi taking his eye patch off, removing the seal to his full power. He cannot remember the last time that he felt such joy, and understandably wants to finally fight with all of his might. A key difference between the two of them reveals to us a limitation to Kenpachi's power. Ichigo is able to hear and understand his own Zanpakuto. He can even hear the cries of Kenpachi's blade. This is because he is fighting alongside his own Zanpakuto. He understands his blade, and this is something that Kenpachi, who only trusts in his own strength, is unable to comprehend. This battle with Ichigo serves to teach Kenpachi the importance of understanding his blade. Kenpachi, up until the end of this battle, believed that the Zanpakuto is a weapon and nothing more. He judges Ichigo for borrowing the strength of Zangetsu, stating that he is unable to fight on his own. That's why he relies upon an external source of power. After the two of them clash one last time, Ichigo collapses, apologizing to his comrades, but Kenpachi declares him the victor as he too collapses to the ground. In chapter 114, Kenpachi remembers the pain of not having a name during his younger years. He holds his Zanpakuto, admitting that he ignored it for the longest time. However, he wonders if it is too late to hear its name. Sadly, his Zanpakuto doesn't reply to him. The way that Kubo draws Kenpachi's outstretched arm holding his Zanpakuto to the sky, awaiting for a response from it, is impactful. You can almost hear the silence emanating from his blade when you look at this moment in the manga. Kenpachi at the end of this fight affirms that he wants to be stronger. In a moment of frustrating enlightenment, he realizes that he has a lot of room to grow in order to truly honor the title of the strongest shinigami that he holds. This battle serves to free Kenpachi from one of his several shackles that are limiting his full potential. His battle with Ichigo is a character-defining encounter, which serves as a stepping stone to his next major battle in the series, which I will now go over. So now let's examine his battle with Nnoitra, an espada who shares a lot of similarity with Kenpachi, but differs when it comes to what he gives importance to. This is seen firsthand through how he despises Neliel, a woman who is ranked above him, as he believes that she does not deserve her ranking and status within the espada, as opposed to Kenpachi, who admires Unohana, the woman who at the time defeated him, and instilled within him a belief that the only thing that matters is the thrill of battle. He was taught this by a woman who was stronger than him, and he grew to admire her, while Nnoitra grew to despise the woman who is ranked above him. Kenpachi, as we know, has incredible raw power, but he subconsciously suppresses it, especially after his battle with Unohana. As well as this, he intentionally suppresses it via his eye patch. He was born as an anomaly, a truly gifted warrior. Without knowing it, he relinquished his power so that he may maintain his connection with Unohana, who gave him his first true glimpse of enjoyment through battle. He felt that she was stronger than him, when in actual fact Kenpachi was stronger than her. He did not envy her, instead he admired her for her power. This contrasts well with Nnoitra, who was born weak, which leads to him feeling envious of those with power. He desires to be powerful, but cannot accept someone who he deems unworthy of power to be stronger than himself. Nnoitra looks down at his opponents and belittles them as he is consumed by his own pride, and he has a need to constantly prove himself. In comparison to Kenpachi, who continues to look up, desiring enjoyment through battle by fighting the strongest opponents, he casts aside his pride, focusing solely on his desire to feel alive through experiencing pain and fear while facing an adversary who has the power to take his life. Nnoitara's skin is as hard as steel. He claims that it cannot be cut by a shinigami like Kenpachi. In chapter 307, Mayuri describes Kenpachi as a wolf while he is on the battlefield. Once he smells the scent of his victim's blood, it is foolish to try and stop him. If you get in Kenpachi's way, he will devour you like a beast. He says it is best to leave Kenpachi to battle Nnoitra on his own when Renji suggests to assist him. Nnoitara's claim that his skin cannot be cut does not deter Kenpachi in the slightest. Their fight is a very memorable one that is really fun to go back and read through, both of them smiling and enjoying every clash of their zanbakudo, not allowing either one to fight cautiously from a distance. Kenpachi pulls Nnoitra towards him fearlessly. He is ready to pierce his steel skin with his blade. Nnoitra gloats and underestimates his opponent. He tries to convince him that he has met his match, but Kenpachi laughs in his face because now he knows that if he is able to cut him, then it means that he can indeed die. He is aware that this is a glaring vulnerability for Nnoitra. All Kenpachi really needs to do is increase his spiritual pressure in order to pierce his skin. Unlike other opponents who could endure being cut, he knows that Nnoitra would not be able to last as soon as Kenpachi draws blood from his steel skin. Moments after this, he does indeed cut Nnoitara's forearm, drawing blood from it, and it is just as Mayuri described. The wolf has smelt the blood of his prey. The beast cannot be reasoned with now until he devours that which is in his sight. Indeed, once Kenpachi gets used to the toughness of his skin, Nnoitra is no longer a match for him, even stopping his Sero with his bare hands. This is all before he even takes off his eye patch. No matter how many times Nnoitra attacks him, he only appears to be stronger after each injury. He is willingly fighting with an open stance to give his opponent the illusion that he is slowing down Kenpachi. Kenpachi, despite being incredibly powerful, still struggles to sustain his crazy fighting style. He even says that he will in fact die if he continues to be cut by Nnoitra. How was the strongest Shinigami struggling with Ichigo during the Soul Society arc, and how is he now having difficulty to endure the attacks of the 5th strongest Espada? The answer to this comes from his relationship with Unohana. We need to analyze his growth and development during the 1000-Year Blood War arc to truly understand the path that his character was on in order to live up to his name. Kenpachi makes his debut during the final arc by confronting Yhwach with the bodies of 3 Sternritters hanging off of his shoulders. Single-handedly one of the most badass Kenpachi moments. He shrugs off Hashwalth, who tries to defend his leader, but Kenpachi cuts to the chase by attacking Yuha, who blocks his zanbakudo with his arm. In chapter 505, Kenpachi is easily beaten off screen. He is saved from being killed by the head captain. During the aftermath of the Quincy's attack, we learn that Kenpachi barely escaped death, as he is in a comatose state. There is doubt if he will ever regain consciousness and be able to fulfill his duties as a captain once more. In chapter 523, we see that Kenpachi has thankfully recovered and is being escorted to the lowest level of the Great Underground Prison by Unohana. She has been ordered by the new head captain Shunsui to train Kenpachi. It is fitting as we learn that she is indeed the first person to have inherited the title of Kenpachi, the first generation strongest Shinigami, Yachiru Unohana. The entire video has been building up to this moment. This highly anticipated rematch explains how one Kenpachi passes down her legacy to her successor. We are about to learn why Unohana feels guilt when she thinks of Kenpachi's progress and his current level of ability, why she feels responsible for having held him back. The two of them enter Muken, the infinitely large underground prison where they may freely swing their swords without any hesitation. Kenpachi's excitement cannot be contained as he is overly talkative, like a child presented with a long sought after gift. There can only be one Kenpachi per generation. This is not training as much as it is a do or die situation, where only one person will emerge with their life intact. As their battle commences, Kenpachi is clearly being bested and finds himself defending Unohana's graceful offensive style. She notes how he began the battle without his eye patch, but is disappointed by the capacity his power reaches even without it. Unohana scolds Kenpachi like a disappointed teacher, as she questions if he is even enjoying their battle, considering he is holding back by not using both both of his arms. He too expresses a similar sentiment of disappointment by commenting on her use of cheap tricks, which is unlike the person he thought of and had admired for so long. Ever since the past, he grew feelings of admiration for her after their first fight. He even wanted to fight like her. He sold himself short after imagining Unohana as being stronger than him. He felt she was a goal he had to strive to reach, when in actual fact his raw talent and innate ability blessed him with the power to surpass her, even as a young boy. Unohana realized this and was able to understand quickly that she was battling the heir to the title of Kenpachi. The purpose behind Unohana training Kenpachi is revealed when she affirms that it is not him who will die after this battle is over. He will survive the fight and grow stronger from it. As we have come to realize, each encounter that Kenpachi survives, he reappears stronger than before. Like every injury he sustains removes a seal that is holding his untapped potential at bay. Unohana describes the subconscious seal that Kenpachi placed on his own power as a flaw that he put upon himself. She also takes responsibility for it by referring to it as the sin that she committed. He is being one-sided by Unohana, continuing to lose consciousness. However, he is healed repeatedly by Unohana. He loses count of how many times he was healed, but it does not stop him from rushing back to clash blades with her again. He is unaware that every time he is being healed, he is reborn as a stronger version of himself. As each time a seal on his power is being released, he is able to respond to her attacks through his reflexes as opposed to reacting to them. Finally, he is returning to his former self. In chapter 525, it is explained how Kenpachi had been restraining his powers during battle. It explains why he just barely lost to Ichigo, why he had barely defeated Nnoitra. It wasn't necessarily because these opponents were strong, but rather because he was restraining his powers to their very limit. When he first fought Unohana, he had experienced the pleasure of fighting on the edge, an experience far removed from his daily encounters with weaklings. She was the first person that he encountered who was at a caliber that could rival his own. He didn't want to kill her, because that would mean he would never be able to feel this level of joy ever again. He sealed his own power deep within himself, just so that he could match her level. This disappointed Unohana, but after each battle that he experiences throughout the series, she began to realize that Kenpachi was consciously removing these limits to his power. We see this at the end of his battle with Ichigo when he desired to learn the name of his Zanpakuto, how he utilized his kendo training with Nnoitra, and now, after being defeated by the Quincy's, he is willingly training with Unohana in the pursuit for more power. Unohana is indeed the ruthless first Kenpachi, the first one to be titled the strongest shinigami, but she admits that she is not stronger than Kenpachi of Zaraki, the 11th Kenpachi who stands before her today. She desires to kill him and heal him as many times as it will take so that he may return to who he truly is. Despite activating her Bankai, Kenpachi is unable to restrain himself after removing the limits to his power. He finally defeats Unohana, taking her life and acquiring the title of the strongest. He proved himself worthy to be the Kenpachi of this era. He may have lost the one person he had ever felt the most enjoyment battling with, but he had to let her go in order to surpass his limits. For now, there are plenty of distractions to keep him occupied. He has powerful opponents, the Quincy, who he needs to fight, and he has powerful allies who are as strong as he is to aid him in battle. Kenpachi can now let go of his attachment to Unohana and grow as a character who the Soul Society can rely upon to protect them. At this moment, his sword is finally able to speak to him. We can hear his Zanpakuto telling him that it has always been beside him in battle, watching him and remaining loyal to him. It introduces itself as Nozarashi. The Zanpakuto he thought had no name finally answers him after all of this time. Utilizing his newly acquired powers, he battles against the Nnoitra and Gremmy during the Quincy second attack. Once again, he battles an opponent who claims that they cannot be cut by his Zanpakuto. Gremmy has the ability to bring into reality anything that he can imagine. He is the self-proclaimed strongest Nnoitra. It is natural that he would end up fighting the strongest shinigami. Gremmy arrogantly says that he will not need to use any of his fingers to defeat Kenpachi. He will simply defeat him by using his mind. However, his tactics have little effect on the new and improved Kenpachi. Gremmy had always felt like the strongest, so he never had any desire to defeat anyone because he felt that he had nothing to prove. But Kenpachi is bringing his bloodlust out of him. He now desires to crush Kenpachi, wanting to prove his claim that he is indeed the strongest Nnoitra. Despite using his imagination, Kenpachi cuts him in chapter 576, proving that there is indeed nothing that he cannot cut. Gremmy delays in realizing that he was cut, which leads to him being slower to react to Kenpachi's next move. He takes advantage of the Nnoitra being preoccupied with thinking about healing himself to land another attack on him. Kenpachi repeatedly attacks him and even funnily asks if he has started to imagine himself losing, but but his words cause Gremmy to regain his focus. Gremmy creates a doppelganger of himself and reveals that now the power of his imagination has been doubled. Kenpachi during this battle literally uses his Zanpakuto Nozarashi to release his shikai, so that he can destroy a meteorite that Gremmy summons to destroy the Serite. This singular moment brings into perspective just how powerful he has become after his training with Unohana. We see his Zanpakuto during its shikai form, and it is a sight far removed from the weathered and beaten blade he had been carrying throughout the series. Nozarashi's appearance complements Kenpachi's power and attitude. His blade is more than just a tool. He is fighting alongside it now, and he has been rewarded for realizing this. Gremmy does eventually cause damage to Kenpachi by imagining him being in a void of space, which causes his bodily fluids to evaporate out of his eyes. But despite this, he takes advantage of Gremmy forgetting to harden himself and cuts his doppelganger in half. Despite him imagining to be stronger than Kenpachi, he is unable to transform into such a form. His muscles and tendons tear apart as they grow far too quickly for his body to adjust alongside and contain. Imagining a form required to defeat the monstrous Kenpachi is what ultimately ended Gremmy's life. Kenpachi even says that his downfall was to imagine him as a monster. He tried becoming a monster like Kenpachi, which ironically was too much for him to handle. After the conclusion of this battle, his lieutenant Yachiru has disappeared. We can assume it is because she has merged with Kenpachi's Zanpakuto. She was always an aspect of his power that was waiting to be awakened. The next significant encounter which serves to reveal more information about Kenpachi is his final battle in the series with the Sternritter Gerard. He arrives to assist Hitsugaya and Byakuya and wastes little time by cutting off Gerard's forearm. However, the Sternritter has an ability called Miracle, which allows him to turn people's wishes into reality. Despite this, Kenpachi is relentless and battles trying to close the gap between their power. In chapter 668, he is overwhelmed and swatted to the ground, but he is awoken by Yachiru. She reappears to encourage him to get up and continue fighting, saying that if he uses her properly, then there is nobody that he cannot cut. This moment does indeed suggest that Yachiru has indeed been his Zanpakuto spirit all along, affirming the notion that she fused with his Zanpakuto. She suggests that Kenpachi uses his Bankai, which is incredibly unexpected. After Kenpachi finally activates his Bankai, his skin turns into a red color, and the shape of his Zanpakuto changes. He appears to have transformed into a monster, and he has lost all of his sense of reason. He looks like a demon in this form, especially with the two horns on his head. Kenpachi then begins to attack Gerard, completely cutting off his arm. What Yachiru said to him earlier appears to be true. In his Bankai form, there is nothing that he cannot cut. This is a theme which is constantly brought up throughout most of his battles. His opponents arrogantly gloat about having steel skin that cannot be cut, only for Kenpachi to prove them wrong. After cutting Gerard in half, he activates his Quincy Holy form. Kenpachi attempts to resume the battle, but his right arm suddenly tears apart, as we learn that Yachiru released too much of his power, resulting in his body not being able to handle it. This highlights how untapped Kenpachi's power is. He is caught off guard and attacked by Gerard, and this reverts him back to his normal form. After Hitsugaya weakens Gerard, we see Kenpachi persistently assist him by sweeping Gerard off of his feet. After the war with the Quincy ends, we see Kenpachi return to his life as the captain of the 11th Division. The only difference is that his Lieutenant Yachiru is no longer beside him. After having read through every moment that Kenpachi appears within the manga, it is difficult to dispute that he is a really well written character. He had several elements to his character which were introduced early on, which foreshadowed his end goal of him defeating Unohana, as well as acquiring the true power of his Zanpakuto. His power knows no limits, as we learn from his battle with Gremmy. It is thanks to Kenpachi's body that he is able to store so much power within it. However, against Gerard, he learns that he is prone to overloading on his own power, which has painful consequences on his body, causing his body to tear apart in a similar way to how Gremmy's body was torn apart, trying to contain such raw, limitless power. Through Kenpachi, the Soul Society has a powerful protector, who by the end of the series earns the right to be called the strongest shinigami. The nameless wanderer ended up calling himself the Kenpachi of Zaraki. He was bored until he fought against the woman who taught him how to enjoy fighting. She was the only person he ever admired, but he had to kill her in order to realize the true extent of his power. His lieutenant, who stayed beside him while he carried a nameless Zanpakuto, ended up being the spirit to his Zanpakuto. She later assisted him to awaken the bloodthirsty demon that lay dormant within, through activating his Bankai. Kenpachi is indeed a monster to be feared, a character that you either love or hate, but one thing is for certain, you won't ever forget the way that he sadistically smiles while excitedly feasting upon his prey. What do you think about Kenpachi Zaraki? Has this video helped you to understand his character better? I would love to hear your thoughts on his progression throughout the series, and if he left a memorable impression on you too. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. I have multiple tiers with rewards including access to an exclusive Discord server, video scripts, as well as being the first to know about unreleased upcoming videos. Thank you for your time, and whatever you choose to contribute I will appreciate, and it will mean a lot to me.